Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Good morning in Eretz Yisrael. Good morning across the world. Good morning in New York. How's everybody doing? Huh?
It's the computer, the screen.
You could see my computer? Oh.
The other way.
This, yeah, because I didn't want it to block YouTube. Okay. How's that? How's YouTube? It's a little crooked. Hold on a second. Let me fix it so it's perfecto. All right, slightly better. We'll get this out of the way. All right, Lili Nishmas Imi, Rusbas Mordechai. We have a record number of sponsors, and therefore, no email maybe. Third day in a row, sponsored by Avi Agai, L'Refuah Shlema Edward Ben Suzette. Shlomo, let's see, Shia Greenfield, not in any particular order. Shia Greenfield is on that side. Our famous Shia Greenfield. In honor of our son, Usha Zelig. I think I met him. Eli, whose kids were those that came? No. I'm trying to think. Who? Why am I drawing a blank here? He's standing next to me. I don't remember. Okay. Oh, that's right. The room Leibowitz. Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot that he was there. Wow. Yeah, thank you. So in honor of our son Usha Zelig, not Leibowitz, Greenfield. It's his 18th birthday today. Yud Cheshvan. I hope he's married already. May continue to grow in Torah and Yerushalayim, Chazak ve'ematz. By Michael Affel, Refuah Shlema for my brother, Azariah Yonatan, Shimon Shmuel, Ben Lenny, Leoni. This is not fear. This is not fear. I went to Panovich. He needs a liver transplant urgently. Should have a tremendous refuah shlema. Rabbi said, tremendous refuah shlema. All right. Thank you, Michael. Or Michal. Let's call him Michal. This one we'll do last. What else? Shlomo Gewurtzman. Le'ili Nishmas. Listen to this. Very sad. Ariel Ben Tzion, great friend who died with no kids at a young age. Today's his yahrzeit. Shkoyach Reb Shlomo. I wish I knew more of the story. Very sad. So did we do all of them besides the last one? Shlomo? Michael? Oh no! Barry Schleifer. Lili Nishmas Imi Merossi from Gittel Basra Baruch Eliezer. Today's the yahrzeit. Lili Nishmas Imi Merossi from Gittel Basra Baruch Eliezer. Rabbi said, listen to this. I did not make this one up. This is a real one, anonymously. In honor of Reb Eli from one of the YouTube chevra that are zoichet to, like the Gemara says in Yuma. Yoshav al pi aruba kedei sheyishma divrei Elokim chayim mipi. The Gemara over there says Shmaya v'Avtalion. The Gemara is talking about Hillel, the famous story. Hillel, he didn't have money to get into the shul. He was so poor. He wanted to hear Shmaya and Avtalion, the famous Shmaya v'Avtalion. So he climbed onto the roof. He listened. He put his ear by the skylight and he listened. Mipi Shmaya. So he sticks in here Mipi Hagayvid Eliyahu. And he says, can the Gaivad Eliyahu give some divrei chizuk about the chashivas of studying the Yomi daily, even if I don't understand it completely? So, because he's sponsoring Mr. Anonymous, I know who he is. You might not know who he is because he's anonymous, but I do. I get the privilege to see the records. So I want to say as follows. He was mazaking me to a new line. Out with the old, new with the new one is coming in now. The old line, we got to start with the old line. It's not about the daf, it's about the yomi. Learning every day, Torah, every day. If you only had 2 minutes to live, I would assume that you would choose the mitzvah of Torah over all other mitzvahs. That's the most important mitzvah, the greatest mitzvah. I don't think anybody argues with that. So learning Torah every day. However, Torah is different than what we think. And we have to use a new line. And that is, actually 2 lines. It's not about the outcome, it's about the process. And it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So, learning Torah is different than everything else. We said it by one of the last Yomim, I don't remember which one. But Anu HaMeilim Mekabim Sochar, Vehim HaMeilim Be'inim Mekabim Sochar, asked the Chavetz Chaim. everybody receives some sort of award. You work, you get paid. Says the Chofetz Chaim, but if a person, let's say, builds an Aron Kodesh for somebody, and he builds, it's beautiful, and the last day there's a fire and it's consumed. So you can't go to the client and say, hey, look, I built it for you, please pay me. I even have a picture. The guy says, listen, you got. So it's about the outcome. But when it comes to Torah, it's about the journey, getting there. Every time you learn and you struggle, you don't understand, you do understand. I have news for you, Rabbi Isai, or this anonymous guy. I don't understand. So I'm just saying over what I don't understand. But it takes years, first of all, it takes years to understand the language, to understand the style, to this. And it's a growing process. And as you grow and you learn, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You've been kind of the greatest mitzvah of all time, Limud Torah. And as long as you come out with one thing every day, you're learning Torah, you're doing the daf, that's what we decided, day one, right? It's all about learning every day. And even if you don't understand 100%, it's enough that you understand a little, and tomorrow you understand more, and you get the same sachar. And it's interesting that whoever you are, you mentioned Hillel. Hillel, I believe, I don't know if this, probably, Hillel, he was on the skylight. You think he understood everything? You think he heard everything? I don't think it's possible to hear everything from a skylight. But he was Zoicha to be Hillel because he went through that hardship. So you should be Zoicha, you continue, keep on plugging, you don't understand, no one understands everything, and join the crew. But at the end of the day, we get sechar for trying, and that's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us. All right, so we're holding today is Daf Pei.
Eli,
Yeah.
can you send to the YouTube, please?
Oh. Center it what way? Like this?
A little bit more to Avia guy.
Like that?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
With Yosef.
Rabbi Isai, we're holding by Itmar. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Baruch Hashem, we did 9 lines yesterday into the new daf. Itmar. Shitufay Mevais. We're talking about, you have an alley and have a bunch of chatzeros, and each chatzer has 2 houses. So there's a bunch of people that live in this alley, and they want to carry on the alley on Shabbos. They have to make an eruv for the mavoi, called a shituf mavais. Different, yeah.
I think you're on the 4th line, Mesve.
Oh, you're right. Okay, sorry. Nice one. What are we going to do with Noam? He's mamish on his ball 4 days in a row. I hope that's your best question for today. Says the Gemara, Meisvei, Ketzad Mishtatvim Mavoi. What?
I hope that's your worst mistake.
Nice. Good line. I like it. Ketzad, it's not. I could promise you it's not my worst mistake. But I won't promise that's the worst mistake that you're going to catch. Ketzad Mishtatvim B'Mavoi. Mevim Chavis Shel Yaim V'Shel Shem V'Shel Tamarim. So, in the Mishnah we learned that when you make a mavoi, when you make a shidduch mavais, you have to lift it up. Whoever is mizakeh to the other people, he lifts it up a tefach. We see something different here, l'chayra. You bring a chavis, you bring a barrel of wine, oil, tamarim, dates, shel groigros, dried figs, b'shel shar mini peiros, im shaloi, tzarich lezakois. So the concept of zachan adam shaloi b'fanav, as we mentioned yesterday, it's you own the barrel, you give everybody the right to use your stuff, you give it to them so they have an eruv, you're mizakeh for them. And if you grab their food, tzarich lo hidia. Maybe the guy doesn't want to be mishtatev. The guy he's stingy. Rashi says he doesn't want you to use his food for it. He doesn't want to give it to other people. So memelo, you have to ask permission. Umagbia men akarka mashu, but the point of the Gemara is this mashu. It doesn't say tefach. All you have to do is lift it a centimeter. Says Gemara, my mashu nami de kamar tefach. Since a tefach is a very small amount, so when the Gemara says mashu, it means a tefach. It doesn't mean a centimeter. It means a tefach. Lafuke, 3 tefachim. Typically, you have to lift 3 tefachim over here, only a tefach. Itmar. Shituf mavais. When it comes to the mavoi, the eruv of a mavoi called the shituf mavais. Rav Omar ein tzorich lezakois, u'Shmuel Omar tzorich lezakois. So we have a major problem here. We have machlokes. Rav says ein tzorich lezakois. we learned yesterday, Keitzad Mishtatzvim B'mavoi, the Mishnah. If you look on Daf Yomi Amud Beis, Minech Zachaves, Vayimezul Chol B'nei Mavoi, Umezake Lohen. How? They have to be Gdoilim, not a Evet Knani, but yes, a Evet Ivri, Yisrael Goldstein. I was thinking about you today. I missed you for the last few days. Yishkoyach. So, over here, Rav says, Ein Tzarech L'Zakos. He fifes on the Mishnah. Okay. Ushmuel Amar Tzarech L'Zakos, just like it says in the Mishnah. You have to be Mizaka, meaning I have to make a kinyan for you. How? I let my other people, I let my son do it for you. I give the chavis over to my son. You do it. Great. Eruv Tchumin. Now, when it comes to the Eruv of a Tchum, in case you just joined us today and you don't know what an Eruv Tchum is, that is Midrabanan. Yesterday we said Rebbe Kiva is the Raisa. You're not allowed to go more than 2,000 amos away from your residence. So if you put an Eruv, 2,000, whatever it is, you put an Eruv, you put a piece of bread, and you say, my new residence is that piece of bread. So now I can go from that piece of bread, 2,000 amos. That.
Eli, you froze.
Oy. Hold on a second. 1 second. Let me do something here, real quickly. Okay. How's that? Are we better? Are we on?
Still not. Give it a minute.
It says that it's on now. Could you let me know?
Still not.
Yeah, there's.
It's on. Okay, good. It's on. It said it's on, so it's on. All right, so where were we? Sorry for the interruption. When we get there to the show, we have Gary live. Basically no problems there, for the most part. Especially in the Beis Medrash. Says the Gemara, when it comes to Erev Tchumim, we're holding Erev Tchumim. When it comes to a regular Erev Shutim Mavais, Rav is Mechulk on the Mishnah. He says you don't have to make a kinyan for somebody else. You don't have to be Mizakeh at him. And Shmooze says you do, like the Mishnah. When it comes to Tchumim, the Shittas are reversed. What does it say? Erev Tchumim, Rav Omar Tzarech L'Zakos, Shmooze Omar Tzarech L'Zakos. Rav says you have to be Mizakeh, Shmooze says not. Now, real quickly, I think it's very important to see Taisus for a second, just understand the logic over here. Rashi brings these exact words, but we'll just see it in Taisus. It's easier to find. Top Taisus first words, and also he says a few more things in Shmuel. Rav Omar ein tzarech l'zakos. Rav says you don't have to be mizakah for somebody else. Says Taisus or Rashi, the kivin the asar alei gomar umaknelei. Same words as Rashi. When a person, the other guy, if I asr on you, therefore, I, Ruvain, I don't allow you to use my chatzar, my mavui. I'm the one that makes it asr. You make it asr on me. Therefore, I have an interest in making it mutter for you, making it mutter for myself. How? By giving over my food to you. I am mizaka. I give it to you 100%. I don't hold anything back because it's in my benefit if I have an eruv. I have no benefit if I make you a tchum. What do I care if you walk 2,000 amos in any direction? But if you are restricting me, then I have a benefit to give you the eruv, and memela it works somehow. And then Taisus goes into saying, maybe the pshat is Shmuel that it's only for a mitzvah, so that's why tchum does work because I'm doing it for a mitzvah. The other guy's masking. Okay, fine. Let's go weiter. But there's svaras behind there. That's all I'm saying. You want to look in Taisus. There's 3 reasons he gives. Bishleima l'Shmuel. A very simple question the Gemara says. How does Rav explain our Mishnah? Bishleima l'Shmuel hachatnan v'hachaleitnan. First of all, in our Mishnah it says you have to be mizakah through somebody else. And by tchum, when it talks about tchumim, it doesn't mention anything about being mizakah. So it's a mefurish Mishnah l'chayra that you don't have to be mizakah by tchum. Otherwise, it would say something in the Mishnah. Elo Rav, my taima. Where did Rav come to be mechulek in our Mishnah? Says the Gemara, very interesting. Tanoi. In fact, Rav holds like a Tana. But what we're going to see is that Rav only holds in one thing like one Tana. Our Mishnah, he doesn't really have proof. Says the Gemara, Tanoi. Do'amar Rav Yidom Rav, Maisa bekalosei shel Rabbi Yishaya. There was a story with the Kala of Rabbi Yishaya, Sheholchala Beis HaMerchatz v'choshchala. She went to the mikvah, to the Beis HaMerchatz, and it got dark Friday night. Her mother-in-law saw this happening before it happened, and she decided to make an Erev for her daughter-in-law. Reb Chia said it's asur. I just want to point out real quickly, I know we're running out of time here, but there's a great friend of the shir, his name is Ari Weinstein. I'll remind you, my brother was talking to me on the phone in Seasons Express in Far Rockaway, and a guy overheard him saying something about the Emin Daf, and that was Ari Weinstein, and he walked over, and he grabbed the phone, and he said, Shalom Aleichem, and from there, developed a great friendship. He brought Shalach Chamonos to my sister-in-law, and my sister-in-law was telling me the amount of chesed that this guy does, betzina, and bringing food every Shabbos and every day, and what do you need from the store, throughout the whole year of treatment, etc., etc., etc. But more for us, he sent me the Pirush Chaim Eruvin on Shabbos. He kept on, and he sent me Gewaldige stuff. So today, he says, look in the Mesifta over there, and he sent me a piece, a very interesting piece from the Yavitz. He says, it was funny. He says, typically a mother-in-law hates a daughter-in-law. In fact, the halacha is a mother-in-law cannot testify. One of the only people that can't testify for a woman to say that her husband died is a mother-in-law, because they have hatred to each other. So he says, we must say that in this Gemara, they didn't live together, and the hatred comes from living in close proximity in the same house. So, Ayin Sham, I was just thinking maybe that's why the mother-in-law messed up this Erev on purpose. Okay, we'll see in a second. He said it's not a good Erev. I'm just saying as a vitz, to continue that kind of thought. But anyway, Reb Chia says, once I mentioned him, I just want to show you real quickly, he sent me a beautiful thing. Anybody can use it. If somebody wants it, they should ask me. I'll send it to Yosef. He created this thing. It's a very simple device. But basically, you take from every daf one lesson, and this is good for Mr. Anonymous, one thing that you learn from the daf, one idea, one concept, that you write it down, and you have the whole Masechta in front of you. And it makes you, he says, it makes you think clearly about the sugya. This guy, there's gems of people in the world. A guy that's a Talmud Chacham, he gives a shir himself. Unbelievable, you should see. He goes through, I don't know how he finds these things, Gewaldige stuff. All right, anyway. Amaloi Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yosi Bavloi, called him Bavloi because he came from Bavel, even though they were in Eretz Yisrael. Who was his father? Amaloi Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yosi, says, why are you, Reb Chia, being machmer on this woman? Imagine, she's coming back from Beis HaMerchatz. They tell her, stand right there, the entire Shabbos, you're not going to eat. Maybe she ate a little bit of the Erev. I don't know what she did. I don't know where she slept. She slept on the floor of the Beis HaMerchatz. I mean, think about it. You cannot come home. So why are you being machmer on her? It's only an Erev. Kach Amar Abba, this is what my father said. Who's his father? Rabbi Yosi. And who's Rabbi Yosi? Nimukei Imai. We always go like Rabbi Yosi. He has straight svara. Kol sheyesh l'chol hakel be'erevin hakel. Hakel. You should always be mekel when it comes to erevin. We had this a number of times. Okay, so now here we go. So they asked, what was the story? Did the mother-in-law use her own food? Is the pshad because the mother-in-law forgot to be mezaka to her, like we said? She made an erev with her own challah, gishmak, but she never mentioned that she's giving it over to her daughter-in-law. Maybe she grabbed her daughter-in-law's food, and that's the problem. When it comes to tchumim, maybe you need her das. We had this word before, we have it now, that when it comes to tchum, I don't know what direction the person wants to go. In this case, it's obvious that she wants to go this direction. But tchum is very difficult to be mezak to somebody else, because you limit them to 2,000 amma in one direction. They lose the 2,000 ammas from their house in the opposite direction. Okay. So Rabbi Yaakov says, I heard this from Rabbi Yochanan. What's happened over there is, she actually used the mother-in-law's own food, and the problem is she wasn't mezaka. So you see from here that in Tchumim, unless you hold like Taisus, that the whole sugi is talking about Chatzeros, but let's go like Rashi, we're talking about Erev Tchumim, and you see that you have to be mezaka in a Tchum. Who says that? Rav, not Shmuel. So here's a good raya to Rav in Tchumim, but not in our sugya. Says Rashi on the spot, you're right, we don't have a great raya to Rav, but Rav Tanahu Palig. Again, Rav is the first Amoira, from the first Amoraim, but he was a little bit in the generation of the Tanaim, so therefore he has the right to argue on Tanaim, and he paskined against our Mishnah. Omar le Rebbe Zeir le Rebbe Yaakov bereid the Bas Yaakov, berod the Bas Yaakov. So Rashi on the spot says the reason why he's named after the daughter of Yaakov, because his father wasn't a good guy. Kimatis Hasam, do me a favor, when you go over there, Akiv v'zil l'sum the tzur, I need you to make a little bit of a long cut. Go out of your way. Ubay minei Reb Yaakov bar Idi. I want you to ask this question: what exactly happened over there with the mother-in-law? Same question that you have, word for word. Is the pshat the mother-in-law used her own food, but she forgot to be mizaka? I say forgot, and okay, I'm chulik on the yavitz. She did it because she, like the Gemara always says, mother-in-law hates the daughter-in-law. So I try to make an error for you. I forgot to be mizaka. Okay. Or maybe no, she used the daughter-in-law's food, which is great, but she did it without permission, so therefore it doesn't work. She used her own food. And when it comes to Erev Tchumen, we paskin like Rav, and we'll see in a second that's the halacha, that when it comes to Tchumen, you have to be mizaka. You can't just do it without being maknet to them. So Rav Nachman comes along and says, La halacha. Here's La halacha. So Mr. Anonymous, if you don't understand the whole back and forth of the sugya, just grab this. La halacha, what do we do? Echad Eruvin Tchumen, ve'echad Eruvin Chatzeres, ve'echad Shiduvim Mavos, tzarech lezakos. All Eruvin, whether it's Tchum, Chatzeres, and Mavos, you need to be mizaka to the other person. You have to make a kinyan for the other person, like our Mishnah says. So Mamela, he's Machmir of Nachman, and he says, we paskin like our Mishnah, like Shmuel, not like Rav, and we paskin in Tchumim like Rav, and not like Shmuel. The kitzur, you always have to be mizaka. Boy Rav Nachman. Eruv Tavshilin. What about Erev Tavshilin? What's Erev Tavshilin? What happens if Shabbos or Yontif falls out on Erev Shabbos? So now, when I want to cook for Shabbos, I'm cooking on Yontif. I'm not cooking for Yontif, so what do? It's not such a problem. But Midrabanan, whatever the reason is, to improve Shabbos or to improve whatever the thing is, you make an Erev Tavshilin. Another type of Erev. If I'm doing it, I'm in a hotel, and I know that Ploini Almighty is in the shower, they're not going to make it. Could I make an Erev Tavshilin for somebody else? Do I have to be mizaka? I tell my son, here, lift this up, 1 tefach, whatever, 3 tefachim, be mizaka this Erev Tavshilin for Ploini Almighty? Or no, I just say it. I say it to myself, like we had before in the Rashi, that when it comes to Erev, I just say it in my mouth. I don't have to make any kinyan. So the Gemara, Rav Yosef, well, I don't understand your question. Don't you know, in the name of Shmuel, you have to be mizaka, yeah, like all the other Eruvim. I'll tell you, he never heard that. Of course, if he would have heard it, he wouldn't have asked the question. No. Even if he heard it, but listen, when it comes to Tchumen, Shmuel is of the opinion you don't have to be mizaka. And what did Rav Nachman say? Right? Rav Nachman is the one that paskin. When it comes to all Eruvim, you have to be mizaka. In other words, he's mechulik on Shmuel when it comes to Tchum. So Mela, what's the connection between Shmuel? Maybe he doesn't hold a Shmuel, maybe he does. Says the Gemara, Bishlam also pligi Rav Shmuel. But that's not fair. Over there's machlokes Rav and Shmuel, and comes Rav Nachman and he paskins l'chumra, like whoever is more machmer. Like we said, like Shmuel in our Mishnah, like Rav in Tchumen. But when it comes to Tavshilin, he is the Shmuelei, make him on the polig. There's nobody that argues. So Meichet is to say that there's another shita here in Erev Tavshilin, so Mela obviously never heard about it. Says the Gemara, new sugya. Ahur Truzina. I have a picture. This is a Truzina. It's a non-Jew who is guarding the weapons of the city. Okay? Here are the weapons of the city. There's no other pictures. The Hav B'Shavuz of the Reb Zera. So you have a typical problem. You have a non-Jew in your mavui, and every single person of the mavoi has to be part of the mavoi, and if one person holds out, then nobody can use the mavoi. And this guy decided to hold out. We even had a svara that the goyim are scared, they think you're doing kishuf with them, whatever it is, so they don't want to do it. What are you doing to me? Why do you want to rent my property? Could you please rent us your property? He refused. Okay, do we have a way out of this? Could we sneak and go to his wife, and maybe his wife could rent out the apartment to us? It's a great idea. I heard it in the name of a great person, a Jewish woman could make an eruv without her husband's permission, and a non-Jewish wife could also do so. Ahu Truzina, same sugya all over. It's just in a different neighborhood, the neighborhood of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yishaya. Could you please rent out your property to us so we can make an eruv? By the way, I was here in Chicago. I never noticed this. I'm going over the bridge. 2 giant metal telephone poles and a string from pole to pole, and that's the only reason why they put up those poles. Unbelievable. Maybe Yosef Ben Zev, who's planning on doing a Eruv thing, will do this. It's the bridge on the corner of McCormick and Tui. Anyway, it's amazing that the guy would allow the Jews to do that, but we had a great alderman who was a Jewish guy, not so from, but he let us do a lot of crazy stuff here. But I mean, literally 2 telephone poles and a string. So anybody goes by doesn't know. I never noticed it all the years I just noticed it the other day. That was a Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yishaya. No, I'm not going to rent it. Also, the Kamei Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yishaya. Can we rent from his wife? They have biyadi. He had no idea what the halacha is. Also, the Kamei Rav Masna have biyadi. He also didn't know what the halacha is. Also, the Kamei Rav Yehuda, not Rav Yehuda Bar Yishaya, but Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda Bar Yishaya is only mentioned in Shas twice. So this is the famous Rav Yehuda. He did know the halacha. You could go to the wife, and the wife could do the eruv for you. Meisvei, but it's a problem. It says by Jewish women, if women became part of the eruv without their husband's knowledge, it's not a good eruv. We have to make a distinction. When the husband has a way out of the mavoi, out of the chatzar, out of the mavoi, he has 2 different entrances, so he doesn't answer, he doesn't make it, he doesn't ruin it for the other guys. So then the wife has no right to make an eruv. But when the husband is the holdup in the mavoi, without his rishos, without his eruv, no one could make an eruv, nobody could carry there. So then we could go to the wife. And Memela, that's what's going on over here. The guy is the holdout. He's not allowing anybody. He's making it also for everybody else. Mela, it's also. Memela that you can make an eruv. Look, you have to explain this distinction within Shmuel himself. If there was a guy that would typically be mishtatev in the mavoi, and now he doesn't want to, says Rashi, he wants to be a bad guy. He wants to ruin it for them. He's upset with them. He says, you know what? You didn't give me an aliyah. You guys are not going to walk in the Mavoi on Shabbos. They can walk into his house and force him to do the Eruv. Says Taisves that it's with the permission of the wife. You need some sort of permission. You just don't need his permission. Ragalin, Shein Ragaloi. So it says over here, it's dafka when he ruins it for them. But if he doesn't ruin it, not. Shma mino. So you see, there's an afkemino. Whether or not he ruins it or not, then you can go to the wife. If not, you can't go to the wife. Okay. By the way, I want to wish a big hearty mazel tov to our tremendous friend Yoel Bergman. His sister became a kala, and a mazel tov to his parents, Reb Chaim Bergman, b'chulu. Says the Gemara, Lema Misayele. I have a great raya. It says, right? The famous lechi in koyer, you have a U-shaped mavui, a mavoi shein mefulash. So the halacha is you have to put a lechi, put a little something, a stick that's 10 tefachim tall, even a mashu width, to give you a heker, so you realize that you're about to leave the mavoi. Or a kaira, it's a horizontal beam, tefach wide, goes from side to side of the mavoi. It reminds you, here we go, we're about to leave the mavoi, and then you can carry. Now, if this guy doesn't want to be part of it, you could force him to pay for it. Now we are turning to daf pay, daf 80 in Eruvin, 80 daf in Eruvin, almost. In memory of my mother, Shendel Bad Aaron Hirsch, and Bracha, by her son, Dr. Alan Listels. And sponsored by the Austin, to buy his grandchildren, Lili Nishmas Rabbi Zisabas Chaim, who's nifter at the age of 98, Gimel Mar Cheshvan. 5 generations of Torah Diki Yidin. Says the Gemara, Shani Hasam Deleke Mechitzois. Difficult Rashi to understand. We go according to Rashi as usual. Says Rashi that if you have a lechi, now it's more guarded. I don't know. You have a little piece, a sliver of wood or any material, a piece of paper that's 10 tefachim tall. Your mavoi becomes more guarded. I mean, I could hear a little bit like if you're going into, like, let's say, a yard that has some sort of gate, even if it's wide open, it gives you the feel that this is protected. You know, the kid will put his bike behind the gate even though it's wide open. It's something. Okay, fine. Azay like Rashi. So, since there's no mechitzas, I can force the other guy to be mishtatav. He's making it difficult for everybody. If things are going to get stolen, it's hard to watch things. Okay, whatever the svara is. Taisus argues. Listen, Achrina. Mitzad Shani. So these words have no explanation. The Vilna Gaon on the side, and he's brought by these Hagois Maharav Rensburg. He's goyres here, bebezdin Shani, and it goes on the Shulchan Aruch, and the Shulchan Aruch says a halacha based on this Gemara, but if you goyres bezdin Shani, so the Shulchan Aruch has a makar, otherwise it's not understood where the Shulchan Aruch has a makar. People say, what's going on? Where did the Mechaber get this halacha? The Vilna Gaon says, Ayin daf pei Amud Beis, that you have to be goyres mi bezdin Shani. Oh, and then the Shulchan Aruch makes sense, and our Gemara makes sense, and other achronim on the spot say, this is mamish divrei lekim chayim, beautiful stuff. But anyways, the point is that bezdin have the right to go after somebody. You cannot run into somebody's house and grab his challah and make it part of the eruv. Bezdin have the right. And that's the difference. Says the Gemara Itmar. Rav Chia Barashi Omar Rav Oisen Lechi Asheira. Amazing chiddush. I could take an avodah zarah tree that's also b'hana, and I could use it for a lechi, even though lechi gives me some sort of hana. But okay, that's a different problem. But the bigger issue is we're going to see in a second that we learned yesterday. Anything that's oimid l'sarif asheira, you have to burn it, is kisarif dami. It's as if it's burnt. Fine. Reb Shimon ben Lakish Omar, oisin koyer asheira. You could even make the horizontal beam out of an avodah zarah tree, because at the end of the day, it's only there for a heker. So you notice that you're about to leave the mavoi. Manda amar koira kol shkin lechi. If you say that I can use a koira, certainly lechi. Why? Because a koira has a shear. It has to be able to hold a brick. It has to be a tefach wide. And anytime you say the concept of ketuse mechta shiura, if you, let's say you have a lulav from avodah zarah, and you say ketuse mechta shiura, it's an ashera, so you don't have 4 tefachim. You're looking at something that has 4 tefachim, but it doesn't. Halachically, it doesn't have 4 tefachim because it's burnt already. It's as if it's burnt. So if I'm looking at a kaira that halachically has to have a tefach, and it's burnt, but yet I still could use it, so certainly I could do so with a lechi. Taisus has a major problem with that because a lechi also needs a shear of 10 tefachim. There's a lot of, in yeshivas you could sit here for 3 weeks and discuss it. Is kedusha mechta shiur, does it mean it doesn't exist at all? Or does it mean that it exists very minutely? So therefore, yes, a lechi could be a thin piece of paper, but is a thin piece of paper and it doesn't exist? Or it just means, okay, the point is that, okay, one of the svaras is that it's for a heker. It's not for the mitzvah of a tefach. You have, in order to recognize that there's a horizontal beam, and you could recognize that it's there. So at the end of the day, it did its job. You recognized it. So I don't care that there's no shear, etc. Fine. Zog the Gemara, aval kaira loy. Ketusim mechtas shiure. Uman do malachi, aval kaira loy. If I say that I can use a lechi, great, because you don't really need a shear. It could be a mashu, it could be very thin. What about Taisis Kasha? Okay. Avakaira loy, but you cannot use Avodah Zarah, Asherah tree, for the horizontal beam because Ketuzim Ech Shure, and you're missing the Tefa. Says the Mishnah. We're talking about Shitufay Mevayis here. So you take challah from everybody, or a meal, and you put it together. What if a bird came and ate part of the Eruv? Moisef Umizaka. So he could add, Ruvain could take his own food and add to it. And he's mizaka everybody else, and he says, I'm doing this for everybody else. Gives it to his kid, lift it, whatever. Vein tzarech lo hidia. Now, the way they understand Rashi, the Marshal, etc., is that even if you take from other people, you grab their bread, vein tzarech lo hidia. You don't have to notify them. Why? Because they were already part of this Eruv. So we know that they want to continue with the Eruv. A cat came and ate the Eruv. They're very excited if you go into their kitchen and add to the Eruv. Because you know they were there yesterday. Why wouldn't they want to be there tomorrow on the next Shabbos? But what if you have brand new people that just moved into the neighborhood? But then in that case, you have to notify them. All right. Kamu shirun. How much is the shear of this sheet of mavais? Bisman Yomi Eruvin, when it's many people, and the Gemara is going to explain when it's 18 people, mazin shtei sudas the kulam. So then, 2 sudas. In other words, 18 groigros. So even if you have 25 people, 2 sudas is enough. Even 40 people, 2 sudas is enough. Bisman muatim. But when it's less than 18 people, kigregeres l'kol echad v'echad. Then you need a gregeres. So in other words, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 17 people, you need 17 groigros. Once you hit 18, you're done. You have 18 groigros, and that's enough for 100 people. But if it's less than 18, then you need at least a gregeres for each person. And that, of course, is like we had a whole sugya. That's if you have bread. But if you have other things that go on the bread, it's much less. Wine, this, each thing. We had a whole sugya what the list is. When you're creating Eruv from scratch, so he's arguing that when it's left over, it's okay. It's fine that a cat ate some of it. Why? Because the whole point of making an Eruv Chatzeros is so if you already have a sheet of mavais, you don't really need a Eruv Chatzeros. Memela, it's okay if it was nismayit. So we have 1 minute left, and we have to do the entire Amud. Not a problem. It's all about the journey. What's going on in this Mishnah? So let's say I made an Eruv with challah, and I replaced it with challah, ma'ir in ismayit. Afilu kol anami. So if the challah completely disappeared, the birds lifted it and took it, so I replaced it with another challah, and I don't notify anybody. Why does the Mishnah say that it became less? Say even more than that. It's gone. Elo b'shnei minin. So I replaced the challah with pizza. Afilu nismai, I'm saying pizza, terrible zach, because I was in New York and I did not have pizza time. I cannot believe it. I was there for who knows, I didn't have pizza time. And my son, who was in pizza time last week, Noam, he was in pizza time because he's meeting certain people. So he didn't bring back pizza time. So I said, why didn't you bring pizza? He said it was too hot. No, anyway, so if they took, and in Farakaway, they have a pizza time. The guy from pizza time, his place burnt down. No, I'm telling you, no. Do not send me pizza time to Israel. Do not. Oh, so if you replace challah with pizza, so who cares? So even if it became less, namilo, you can't replace challah with pizza. You start out with challah, you stay with.
There's a new pizza shop in RBS.
I'm sure. It'll be okay. We're not going to go there because people are going to say, "How can you talk about Eretz Yisrael like that?" But the pizza, it's not pizza time. Even in New York, it's not pizza time. There's only one pizza type. Weiter, we'll discuss it at a different time. And 2 stores next to it is the best pizza in the world, but it's not kosher. It says if it's from one, you're replacing bread with bread, ain't tzarich l'idiyah. You don't have to notify anybody. Mebeis minim tzarich l'idiyah. But if it's 2 varieties, you're replacing bread with pizza, tzarich l'idiyah. So what are you telling me? So why does the Mishnah say that it's missing? Missing is not the word here. That part of it is gone. Even if it's completely not here, you could replace it with the same item. And if you're not replacing it with the same item, so even if it's slightly missing, it's not good. You can't replace it unless you notify everybody. Says the Gemara 2 pshatim. I can explain it both ways. We'll say the Mishnah is talking about they replaced it with the same item. So you're asking me, why does the Mishnah use the word nismait, that it's still there, but only some of it is missing? Just say the whole thing went. My nismait, yeah, that's exactly what the Mishnah meant. Nismatmate. Playing with the words. Nismatmate means it's completely gone. Yeah, okay, some people are not going to like that. It says nismait. You read it nismatmate. V'bayseima mishnei minin. No, so maybe that's why it says, no, I have a better pshat. The Mishnah is talking about 2 different varieties. Koloshani, when it's completely gone, then I need to ask permission. But that's why the Mishnah says it's not completely gone. It's still there. So I put a challah down, the birds came, ate half the challah. So I go and I replace half a challah with pizza. That's okay, I don't have to ask anybody permission. If it's completely gone, then it's like I'm starting all over again, so maybe I have to ask people permission. Maybe they don't want to do an Eruv anymore. If it's still part of the first Eruv, they're part of it, I complete it. Says the Gemara, no, tell me when I should stop. So you need, if there are new neighbors in the neighborhood, you have to ask permission. If you turn the page, Daf Pei Aleph Amud Beis, Mamish on the top. Look at that Mishnah. This man, we're going to learn it tomorrow, Beis Hashem, if we get there. He argues, he says, when it comes to the Eruv Chatzeros, ma'arvim bein ladas u bein shaloi ladas. You don't need anybody's permission. So if new neighbors come into the neighbor, you don't ask him. You just make an Eruv Chatzeros. Says Gemara Pshita Chalukim. Of course they argue. When there's 2 mavais and you're taking away the guy's option, the new neighbor maybe wants to go use that mavai. He doesn't like that. That one is too dirty for him. He wants to go this way. You just told him no. Oh, there's machlokes whether you could be in 2 mavais or not. But the point is, I am limiting you now. So maybe you can't do that. But if he only has one option, you could only go into that alley. So why wouldn't you want to be part of the Eruv? You don't have to ask Rishos. Kamash malon. Should we just do this? It's very, very simple sugya. Let's do it. Very simple, seriously. Kamu shiuray, and I already said the sugya. Kamu merubin. How many? What's a lot of people? 18 people. What? You could only. What about 19, 20? What you limited it? It doesn't make any sense. Says Gemara, Ema mishmon esrei ve'elach. No, from 18 and on. Again, we have the same thing like before. Rabbi Yitzchak, the son of Rabbi Yehuda. You have to remember who the father is. My father, who? Rabbi Yehuda said, if you take the 18 people, and you take 2 sudas, and you divide it between 18 people, what is it? What's a gregaris? This is a picture of gregaris, a dried fig, and they used to make a hole through the center and put a string, wrap it around. But anyways, this is dried fig. So you need a dried fig per person. So count 18, 1, 2, 3, 18. This is your Eruv right over here. But if you need more, you have more than 18, that's already merubin. Vesagi, says the Gemara, listen to this. Vesagi b'mozin shtei su'udos. So even more than 18 people, it's enough 2 sudas, that's it. Viloi, heinhei mu'atim. If you have less than 18, that's what's considered mu'atin, and each person has to bring 1 dried fig. And we learn from Mirachidish, the shtei su'udos havin shmoina esrei groigrois. We just learned a chiddush. How much is 2 selim? We never knew. 2 meals. 2 meals, what? In shallots, in pizza time, what's 2 meals? Now we know. 2 meals is 18 dried figs. Have a wonderful day. Amen. Daron, is Daron? Did anybody see Daron? I just saw Daron a second ago.
I'm here.
How you doing? How are you doing? Sorry. How you doing, sir?
It's really tough. We're suffering. We all have this mondo.
I know. It's crazy how people get attached to these pets. It's not normal. Mom, it's not normal.
I have to get one. My kids want one.
Don't get one yet. Maybe we'll make a deal. Maybe we could switch off week or something. Please don't get one. Please.
Otherwise, you're paying for my dog because it's your fault.
Remember the speech you gave your children the day we dropped off the dog. I wasn't there, but my wife repeated it word for word. This is not ours. We are not getting a dog. Don't get this into your head. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Benzi Novak, Manishma. I didn't see you since that picture. Yishkoyach for the picture. Beautiful stuff. Great picture. Yishkoyach. What? What do you say, Benzi?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
A day after we advertised the picture, they closed the COVID department. There was no sick people.
In Hadassah?
Yeah.
No, I just read that they closed 2. I read they closed 2 departments, but they still have sick people.
Yeah, but I got a present before I left.
Yeah.
I got COVID now.
Oh. Woman, so you got COVID. You had COVID while you took that picture.
No, after that, somebody gave me how you know it. Anyway, that was a gift, yeah.
Wow. That's not. It's like so. But you didn't get COVID in the department. You got the COVID somewhere else. That's interesting.
I got it probably over there. I took care of a guy who was nifted 2 hours later, and it was like feeding and coughing. I probably got it over there.
Oy vavoy.
So now I have time to do the shir without the shir, see?
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I'm from the Yavits.
The what?
I'm a Ben Achaben from the Yavits.
You are? How long ago did he live?
I think he died in 1770s, somewhere in that.
Mordechai, you got to go back. You got to put your name. You got to change your name to Mordechai immediately. Ben Achar Ben from the Yavits.
I told you I'm spending more time on the Zoom with work. I have to get another shear in every day. Then it'll be a balance. I can change it.
They'll be at the peace conference, MDY peace conference. Ellie and the night here.
Have a great day. Thank you, Ellie.
Mati, where are you running? Where are you running every day? What's Shachris? No.